Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into the latest episode of Creature Commandos, Episode 5, which introduces the iconic villain, Clayface, to the DC Universe. But we're not just talking about his debut. We're going to break down Clayface's long and complicated history in the comics and how we might see him take shape in the live-action DCU. So, let's get into it. First, let's talk about Clayface's history in the comics. Created in 1940 by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, the original Clayface was a character named Basil Karlo, a B-list actor turned villain. His first appearance was in Detective Comics number 40, where he goes on a rampage to destroy the films he starred in. It's a pretty wild premise. This guy doesn't just want to rob or kill, he's obsessed with his career in Hollywood. Basil Karlo's Clayface was more about vengeance than shapeshifting, but his story has evolved a lot over the decades. As time passed, Clayface's identity was handed off to other characters, each bringing a unique twist to the villain. The most famous of these successors is Matt Hagen, a treasure hunter whose encounter with a special chemical pool allows him to shapeshift into anyone or anything. His story is much darker. Hagen's constant need to stay in the pool to maintain his powers leaves him trapped in a cycle of desperation, often making him more tragic than villainous. And then there's the version of Clayface we see in modern comics, like the one portrayed by the character's most recent incarnation, Preston Payne, or even the monstrous, mutated version of the character from the New 52 era. Each version of Clayface has brought something new, whether it's a deep psychological struggle, raw emotional turmoil, or an increasing ability to shapeshift to unimaginable extremes. So, what makes Clayface such a compelling character in the DC universe? It's not just his ability to transform, although, let's be honest, his shape-shifting is cool as hell. It's his deep emotional complexity. Clayface is a tragic figure in many ways, whether it's the loss of his former life, the corruption of his powers, or the constant battle with his own identity. Clayface represents the consequences of obsession and desperation. It's what makes him such an intriguing foe for heroes like Batman, whose own dark and complex nature mirrors the villain's. Clayface has appeared in nearly every Batman adaptation, from the animated series to Batman. The animated series, where his backstory and powers were explored in greater depth, making him one of the more memorable members of Batman's rogues gallery. Now, let's talk about Clayface's debut in Creature Commandos Episode 5. This version of Clayface seems to stay true to the core of the character's tragic nature. Instead of focusing purely on his powers, the episode highlights his emotional struggles, introducing a shape-shifting villain who could potentially have a much deeper role in the DCU than just being a monster of the week. Here, Clayface is not just a mindless villain. He's a complex character who might bring a level of sympathy that we've seen in other recent DC shows and films, like the Suicide Squad's take on King Shark. This may be the beginning of a more tragic, morally gray version of Clayface that fits within the ever-expanding DC universe. So how could Clayface be introduced to the live-action DC universe? Well, with the Creature Commandos series setting the stage, I wouldn't be surprised to see Clayface show up in live-action films soon, possibly as part of the larger DCU plan that James Gunn has in store. There's already talk of a The Brave and the Bold Batman movie, and Clayface could fit perfectly into that darker, more character-driven narrative. Imagine Clayface in a live-action movie where he's not just a villain, but a tragic anti-hero, struggling to retain his humanity while being forced to carry out criminal acts. He could be used as an emotional foil for a Batman who's grappling with his own identity and personal loss. We could even see Clayface team up with other villains or members of the Creature Commandos in future team-up films, adding to the DC Universe's expansive roster of characters. And hey, with the tech available today, especially with visual effects used in films like Avengers Endgame, the shape-shifting abilities of Clayface could look absolutely mind-blowing in live action. This is the perfect time for a character like Clayface to shine, especially in a world that's slowly but surely embracing more complex, villain-focused stories. So, what do you think? Will Clayface become a staple in the DCU's live-action films, or will he stay a supporting character in the animated world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite comic book characters and upcoming DCU content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.